Hello, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome to the latest episode of your Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate with me, your host, Britsburgh. Owen. Guys, it's a pleasure to speak to you. As always, last few videos now, let's make them the best ones. Hit that like and hit that sub, ready for the new host, whoever that may be. Mackenzie Miller is staying on board, which is absolutely fantastic news. Hope you enjoyed her show last night. Well, let me tell you something, guys. It's a strange one, isn't it? Everyone talks about Mike Tomlin and his coaching tree and the fact that no coaches have ever gone on to achieve anything after leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is quite remarkable, isn't it? Even some of the young coaches in the NFL, some of the up and coming coaches, the likes of Kyle Shanahan, the likes of Sean McVay, have already got coaching trees far greater than that of Mike Tomlin's. People like, for example, O'Connell, the Vikings coach, who came up under McVay. You've got McDaniel in Miami, who came up under Shanahan. There's a number of coaches already doing that. Now, it does seem to me the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to really struggle when it comes to hiring offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and position coaches. Now, I'm sure you can all remember Adrian Klemm, who was the offensive line coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who left last season with a couple of games to go, meaning that Chris Morgan took over as interim offensive line coach. And it certainly seems that offensive line coach position has been a problem since Mike Munchak left. Obviously, Sean Surratt took over, didn't do a great job, was replaced by Adrian Klemm, who was then replaced by Chris Morgan, who was now replaced, obviously, by Pat Mayer, who seems to be doing quite a good job given the improvements made in the last 9 games of the season by the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, certainly in run blocking, for example. But you know what? It does raise a wider question now, though. Why can't the Steelers hire coaches and coordinators who go on to have success at other teams, that go on to become head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators? Now, I don't think we can take credit for Brian Flores. I think obviously Brian Flores is a great coach in his own right. Now, news came out yesterday that Adrian Klemm, yes, Adrian Klemm, is returning to the NFL. This is the same Adrian Klemm that said he didn't want to be an NFL coach anymore and wanted to return to the college football and the college recruitment process when he went to coach in Oregon. Now, this was the reason why he left. He announced he was taking the job, and then he was released early from his contract. Now, why was he released early from his contract? And why now the sudden change of heart? It now emerges that the reason Klemm left the Steelers was not because of the fact that he had a strong desire to return to college football or that he wanted to turn to the college recruitment process, as his recent appointment to the New England Patriots proves. It was, in fact, because he had fallen out with Matt Canada, and him and Canada weren't a fit and were not working well together. And it seems the Steelers chose to retain Canada over Klemm. Now, obviously, at the time of this decision being made, obviously the offensive line weren't any great shakes, but then again, neither were the offense. It just seems bizarre to me the Steelers chose this route rather than, to get rid of both of them, perhaps, who were, both the problem. Now, Klemm coming back now, he is now the new offensive line coach of the New England Patriots under new Patriots offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, who obviously has been a head coach previously. Bill O'Brien, who was the offensive coordinator in Alabama last season and did a fantastic job for the Crimson Tide. Just wish that we could have hired someone like that instead of being stuck with the awful Matt Canada. It just seems, though, that it raises a wider question, though. It really does. If you look at the Steelers, recent appointments to offensive coordinator, to defensive coordinator, no one has ever gone on to have a head coaching job of any great success under Tomlin. No one has ever gone on to a greater post from a position coach. It just seems that the Steelers seem content with, also ran second-rate position coaches, not the best coordinators, and just to get by on what they've had. Now, why is this? What is the reason for this? Is it because they are, too tight with their money and don't want to spend on top position coaches and top offensive and defensive coordinators? Is that the reason? I mean, you certainly look at the offensive coordinator for the last 2 years has failed abysmally to do the job. And realistically, his position coaches haven't done a lot better. Ike Hilliard was sacked as wide receivers coach. Frisman Jackson obviously continues this season, but has obviously a lot of hard work to do in terms of continuing to try and improve the wide receiver group. Eddie Faulkner, I think, has done a decent job with the running backs. Alfredo Roberts has done an okay job with the tight ends. But it all begs a wider question, though. Why is it that the Steelers won't go after big-name, high-value targets to be offensive, defensive coordinators or even position coaches? What is the reason behind it? It can't be just solely down to money. It can't be just solely down to the fact that they don't want to pay for these people. Is it down to the fact that Tomlin doesn't want someone in the dressing room who can challenge him? Is it that Tomlin feels threatened by experienced coaches? For example, if they brought in, say, Frank Reich, and I know he's now a head coach, but if they brought him in as offensive coordinator, or even Cliff Kingsbury or Nathaniel Hackett, would Tomlin have felt pressured having someone like that in a high position? Now, before you say Brian Flores wasn't a coordinator, so really wasn't a threat for a head coaching job at that state, as we've seen now by the fact that he's been promoted to a defensive coordinator's job in Minnesota. So the Steelers, I think, really do need to start to look beyond, just going for the basic, going for the cheap option, going for the option that just gets them by. They really do need to start looking at hiring better coaches, better position coaches, better coordinators, people who are really going to make a difference to this team. You look at the talent level on this team, the likes of TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, Alex Highsmith on defense. You look at the talent on offense in terms of Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, and you just feel that with an aggressively minded offensive coordinator who is good at what he does, like Shane Steichen for the Eagles, like Bieniemy for the Chiefs, you could really get a lot more out of this offense, and also perhaps turn this defense from being what is a very good defense into a super elite defense if you had a real top level defensive coordinator. I just hope that in the future, the Steelers really do start to evolve and start to look beyond looking for what is the basic option, the cheap option, the value model, and actually start to look for what is the top price model, the good model, the guy. Because remember, guys, there is no salary cap on coaches. A team can spend as much money as they want on coaches. So why don't the Steelers do that? Great coaching leads to good teams. Great coaching turns average players into good players, and good players into great players. That's what good coaching does. And you just feel at times the Steelers are missing a trick by not having an outstanding offensive coordinator, outstanding position coaches. The only position coach, certainly at the Steelers organization, that looks to be on the rise is Grady Brown, the secondary coach. But there is definitely a need, I think, to change the philosophy when it comes to hiring coaches. Certainly, it would be nice if Mike Tomlin could, as a in the future, have an actual coaching tree where people have gone on, succeeded in Pittsburgh, and then gone on to become head coaches elsewhere and continued that success. That would be great. That would be a great way for Tomlin perhaps to sign off his Steelers career. I mean, he is obviously, I think, he's out of contract soon. He may not want to continue. He may want to retire. He has been the head coach now for 16 years. That could be the situation. Well, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, let me know what you think of the Steelers coaching policy, hiring policy. And guys, keep tuning into the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate for your news, views, and updates. Thanks for watching. As always, here we go, Steelers. Come on.